Guys, how are y'all today? Got a little yard work to do. That's always fun around here at the farm. Well, so what I want to do is do a little bit of weed eating today, but what I'd like to also do is share a little bit some of the equipment that I use when I do my yard work. One thing I did want to talk about today is my weed eater, the type of weed eater I use. And I use a Cub Cadet type weed eater. And I'm going to show you a little bit about that weed eater, and we'll look at it here in just a minute. All right, guys, I'm going to talk a little bit about my weed eater here. I know I'm on the ground, but kind of like when the tire meets the asphalt. We're out here, well, it's where the lawn equipment meets the grass. But anyway, this weed eater is a 2-cycle weed eater. It's been a hoss out here on the farm, and I've had it for at least 2 to 3 years, if not longer. And it's probably one of the best weed eaters that I've had. What's unique about this weed eater is the way that the weed eater string is fed into the spool piece. Your normal type has a wind-up style spool piece. Well, this one doesn't. This one has a different system. This one here, you can actually cut it out. Your little pieces about, I don't know, a foot long or so. And you have strips you can carry along with you when you're weed eating. And so it's very easily taken in and out when you need to replace that weed eater string. And I'm going to show you here in just a second on how easy it is. All right, so if you're looking at this spool piece, it is quite different than the normal spool pieces. Normally this piece would come off and you'd have to wind up weed eater string inside that spool piece. Well, this one here is a little different. Feeds into these 2 holes here and then comes out the sides. I'm going to show you how easy it is to take it out. I'm actually doing this with one hand, so this is how easy it is. Pulling it out. Look at that, beautiful. And that's how easy it was. If you look at it, there's 2 holes here where the other weed eater string will fit in, and it comes out the sides. We're going to go ahead and replace this weed eater string, and I'm going to do it again with one hand to show you how easy it is. Feeding it into this hole, feeding it in here. If you look at it now, it's coming out on both sides. Look at that. What you want to do now is make sure that it's even on each side, so whenever it's going around, you have an even amount of string on each side of this little spool piece here. Look at this. Beautiful. I'm ready to do some weed eating. All right, we're going to talk about the fuel here in just a second. Yeah, all right, so we're going to talk about the fuel. Most people use some type of gasoline and an oil mixture where they actually have to buy the gas and then buy the oil and mix it and have the correct ratio for that weed eater. Some weed eaters are 40-to-1, which this one is a 40-to-1 mix ratio. But what I do is I use a pre-mix type fuel for this weed eater. This one here is like a brand, I think it's called, this is a VP small engine fuel brand. But it comes in different types of brands, and you can usually buy that at your local Tractor Supply or your local automotive store, and that's where I usually get it. But I tell you, since I've used this type of fuel for my weed eater, and I also use it on my chainsaws, I hardly ever have to change out anything as far as the carburetor goes, or doing a carburetor kit, because that seems like what the problem is with most of these small engine machines is you got to constantly, after a couple of years of use, you got to do a carburetor change out or carburetor kit. Well, that's what we're trying to eliminate. So I'm going to get to doing some weed eating. All right. another thing, out here on the farm, usually we have a lot of acreage to cut. We normally cut probably close to 2, maybe even 4 acres of grass at a time. That's cutting and weed eating. So that's a whole lot of grass. It's really time consuming, but I tell you right now, it is well worth it. It sure is. This is another valuable piece of equipment here on the Wackadoo Acres. This is my Kubota 54-inch cut lawnmower. It's a gasoline model lawnmower, which I think this is the step or the step before that gets to the diesel. But however, still a hoss. Without this lawnmower on the place, it would probably take me hours and hours and hours and hours just to cut the grass. I can knock out probably 3-4 acres, probably in the time frame of about two hours or so. So not too bad. But what I'm going to do is later on, probably in a couple of weeks or so, later on down the road, I'm going to do a breakdown of this lawnmower. We're going to talk about its functions. We're going to talk about the maintenance. We're going to talk a little about everything about this mower. So I'm about to get to cutting some grass. Woo! Man, that was a long day, but it's looking good. Like a fresh haircut out on the place. Always, if you got a place or got some property or even your own yard at your house in town, you know, take pride in it. Make it look good, and you won't regret it. Looking awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys coming along today. One important thing to remember is once you're done with your equipment, and that could be your yard equipment, that could be any other equipment you're using out on your place, make sure it's good and cleaned up after you're done. That way it's good and it's ready for your next venture, your next time you got to do your yard work or any other projects you got going on. You want to make sure you have some fresh material or fresh equipment. Well, I appreciate you guys coming along today on our little day of yard work, and I hope you learned something. Again, if there's something you see that maybe you can see I could do a little better, let me know. If you have different equipment out there that you're using that makes your job a lot easier, let me know as well. You can comment below. Also, if you like it, go ahead and hit that like button, and if you really like it, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And that way it keeps you informed on what's coming up next or what other videos I have coming out. All right, again, I appreciate you coming along, and y'all have a great day. All right.